Hello everyone, I'm Heather, and in today's video I'm going to be answering questions that I received from viewers about visiting Wisconsin Dells. If you are not already aware, Wisconsin Dells is an extremely popular tourist destination in sort of south central Wisconsin. It's a very popular tourist destination for people who live in the Midwest, but I've heard about people coming from all over the country and even the world to visit Wisconsin Dells. I have made many videos about Wisconsin Dells, and you can find those on my channel. I will link one of my Wisconsin Dells playlists at the end of this video if you want to look through it. There are an abundance of attractions in Wisconsin Dells and a whole bunch of resorts. Wisconsin Dells is affectionately known as the water park capital of the world. So if you like water parks, you will like Wisconsin Dells. I was actually somewhat surprised at the types of questions I received from my viewers. I actually sought out questions and asked people to submit questions. I expected them to be more about the resorts or the attractions or asking questions like that, and they weren't at all. Most of the questions I received actually had to do with money and how much things in Wisconsin Dells cost. So that gives me a little insight into my viewers and also has me thinking that maybe I need to be a little bit more focused on the financial aspects of travel in future videos. If that is something that interests you, please be sure to let me know down in the comments below. Okay, and before I get started answering the questions, I'd like to take a quick minute to invite you to subscribe to this channel. I make all sorts of videos about travel. Subscribe so you don't miss any of my content, and click the notification bell so you get notified of each new video that I make. All right, the first question that I got is actually a tough one for me. Someone asked, what are the best restaurants in Wisconsin Dells? And I hate to say it, but I can't really answer this question. I honestly haven't tried that many restaurants in Wisconsin Dells. We have our favorites that are kind of go-to places for us, and they tend to be the restaurants that we don't have where we live in a different part of Wisconsin. So we like to eat at them when we're there because we don't have the opportunity normally. One of our favorites, which I did make a video about, which I will link up here, is Mac's Mac and Cheese Shop, I think it is. And Mac stands for Macaroni and Cheese Shop. Yeah, that's what it is. It's Macaroni and Cheese Shop, Mac's. And there's two locations in Wisconsin Dells, one downtown and one right near the Kalahari Resort, which is actually Lake Delton. Otherwise, we tend to go to places like Denny's and Cracker Barrel. Buffalo Phil's, I also made a video about. That's a very popular Wisconsin Dells restaurant where in certain parts of the restaurant, your food is delivered on a train. And I made a video about that, and I will link that right up here. And the people who own Buffalo Phil's also own Moose Jaw Pizza and Brew Pub, I think is the full name of it, which is a microbrewery, and they have other things to eat there, but they specialize in pizza. And that's located a little ways down the road. Both of those restaurants, you deliver and you can spot their vehicles, their delivery vehicles very easily because the ones from Moose Jaw have a giant moose on the top of the cars, and the ones at Buffalo Phil's have a giant bison on the top of the cars. So it's kind of unique and fun. Other than that, as far as like locally owned independent restaurants in Wisconsin Dells, I'm really struggling to think of any other ones that we've tried. I mean, I'm sure we have tried other places in the past, but those are the only ones that are coming to mind. Otherwise, you're going to find all of your same, chain franchise restaurants. They have IHOP. We love to go to IHOP because we don't have an IHOP where we live. They have an IHOP. They have an Applebee's. They have a couple Culver's. They have more than one McDonald's. All the fast food places. They have Noodles. They have, a lot of chain restaurants that you'd see. And they're getting more of those all the time. In the past, Wisconsin Dells had kind of put their foot down and said, we're not going to have chain places. And that included restaurants and hotels. They wanted it to be only, I think there was some kind of city ordinance in place that they wanted it to be only locally owned businesses. But over time, they got away from that. I don't know if they changed the law or whatever. And you see more chain, hotels coming in like Spring Hill Suites, La Quinta Inn. I think there's a Fairfield Inn. Those are both Fairfield and Spring Hill Suites are both Marriott properties. Hilton Garden Inn, a Holiday Inn, Hampton Inn. You're seeing more and more of those pop up. And I think that's in response to demand, because originally Wisconsin Dells was very much all of these locally owned little motels. And as those gradually went out of business and were absorbed by the people who own Mount Olympus, they saw that they're going to need some other options for people. And they especially needed more economical options for people for hotels that didn't want to pay the big prices to stay at one of the big water park resorts. They needed more traditional hotel options. And so there's a lot more hotel options and there's a lot more restaurant options than there used to be. And that's probably, unfortunately, at the expense of some of those locally owned restaurants, which unfortunately I can't think of any others. If you have suggestions, you've been to Wisconsin Dells and you have a restaurant that's like an independently owned restaurant that's not a chain, would you please leave it in the comments below for people and tell us why we should try it? I'd like to try some places like that. There's a lot of restaurants in Wisconsin Dells, but one thing I think you'll find in Wisconsin Dells is you tend to be so busy with activities and wanting to do things, especially if you're there with kids, that you don't want to take a huge amount of time out of your day to go sit down somewhere and eat. In some cases you might, but for the most part with kids, you want to be eating fairly quickly. And it can be kind of nice when you're on vacation with kids to have those favorites, if you will, that they're already familiar with and that you're not going to have an argument with them about what, I don't know what I like here and what we're going to do, where they already know this restaurant and so they know what they like there and they can order something and you can get in and out relatively quickly. So sorry that doesn't completely answer your question, and I'm sorry that I went off on a little tangent there with hotels, but I think that they're kind of hand in hand, the hotels and the restaurants in Wisconsin Dells, and how things have changed over the years. Second question I got from my friend Morgan at Very Unofficial Travel Guides, and he asked, does your family ride the coasters too, or just water slides? Now, I think this question shows me that it's been a long time since Morgan has been to Wisconsin Dells. And if it's been a long time for you since you've been to Wisconsin Dells, which could be the case for a lot of people, like maybe they went as a kid and they haven't been back, but now they're planning to go back because they have kids. I can think of a lot of situations where that might be true. You may not realize that a lot of the roller coasters that used to be in Wisconsin Dells are not there anymore. I looked it up and there's actually only 10 roller coasters in the state of Wisconsin at all. And shoot, I should have written it down. I looked up where they were. 3 places, I think. There's the Zippin' Pippin in Green Bay at Bay Beach Park. And there is, it was 4 at one place and 6 at the other. Mount Olympus in Wisconsin Dells is the only place in Wisconsin Dells that still has any roller coasters. And they have either 4, 5, or 6. And then the other 4, 5, or 6 are at Little America in, I'll put the name of the town down here. I looked it up. I've never been there. I had never even heard of it before I researched the answer to this question to find out how many, because I was racking my brain and I'm like, there aren't any more roller coasters in Wisconsin Dells anymore. But there used to be some other ones and they're all gone. So except at Mount Olympus, there's no other roller coasters. Now, to answer the question, I have ridden some, but not all of the roller coasters at Mount Olympus. I don't think I ever rode any other roller coasters that existed in the past. When I was there, it would have been when I was a kid, and I don't think I did. But I did not ride at least 1 or 2 of the roller coasters at Mount Olympus. I know Andrew, my oldest son, has. If Megan did, she was only at Mount Olympus when she was really young, once or twice. So I don't know if she did either. But I made a video about Mount Olympus. And the other video I would really like to direct you to is Coaster Studios' review of Mount Olympus. He did a really good video about Mount Olympus that's very honest. And I will say I have been to Mount Olympus in the past. I would not pay money to go there now. I would not spend my own money to go to Mount Olympus now. I just don't like it that much, and it's not that nice, and I have serious questions about their safety. So, and that includes like safety during the pandemic and also safety of the rides. And if you watch that video by Coaster Studios, you'll see what I mean. Unless you go there or to Little America or to the Zippin Pippin, there aren't any other roller coasters in the state of Wisconsin at all. So for the most part, when we've gone to Wisconsin Dells, we have mainly ridden water slides, and there are lots and lots and lots of those. Have you ever switched resorts during your stay? I think that this viewer meant like one of the big water park resorts. I personally have not, but I'm going to come back to that because I talked to somebody one time who had. We have switched hotels, and I think it only happened the once, and it was in the summer of 2020. It was quite recently, and it was when we had to make an unexpected trip last minute, and we stayed at the new La Quinta, which I did a couple videos about. I'll put one of them up here because I really wanted to try it out because it was the newest hotel that had been built at the time. They had actually opened in March of 2020. We're only open like a week, and then they had to close again because of the pandemic. And then when we went in August of 2020, they had just reopened like right before that. We didn't like it at all. We did not like La Quinta at all, and we actually had some pretty serious issues with their safety with the pandemic. The staff were not wearing their masks, even though they said that masks were required of everyone. And I actually did submit a customer feedback thing to La Quinta corporate, and they made them, I don't think I ever followed up with you guys about this. They made the manager of that La Quinta call me and apologize, which I didn't actually talk to her. She left me a message on my cell phone, and I just listened to it, and it was very awkward. I felt like really bad, but she must have gotten in big trouble because they weren't wearing their masks. And, this was relatively early in the pandemic, so it was pretty serious. And she had to apologize, and she offered me something. I can't remember what it was. She offered me a free stay or I don't know, something like that, which I did not take them up on at all because I wasn't interested in going back there. But it's a very nice property, but it's weird. And in those videos that I made, it really feels more like an office building than a hotel. It was not the most comfortable. It didn't feel comfy. It was strange. And on that trip, we stayed there just the one night. And then because we were unhappy with it, we switched to the Hampton Inn, which we had stayed at before and which we like very much and have always been very happy with. So that's the only time I can think that we actually switched lodging in the middle of a trip. But I talked to a woman one time at Mount Olympus. Was it? Or was it at Kalahari? I don't know. Some water park I was at one time in the summer. I talked to another mom, while we were waiting for our kids to come down the slides or something. And she told me that they were there it was an extended period of time. Were they doing a week at each? That can't be right. But it was several days at each. And she told me, it was Kalahari, Great Wolf Lodge, and Mount Olympus. I think those were the three. I don't think one of them was Wilderness. But it was three of those big ones. And they were doing like several days at each, back to back. So apparently there are people who do that. And I can see why you might want to do that. So you can, get to experience the different water parks and the different other activities at each of those resorts. However, I feel like, oh my gosh, that would be exhausting. Water parks themselves, you even spend one day at a water park and you're tired. It's a lot of stairs and your arms and your chest get sore. Do you guys know what I'm talking about when you go on the tubes? And also just all that time in the water, and if you're spending time at an outdoor water park in the sun, you just get really tired. I think like going to 3 different water parks like that would be really, really tiring. I mean, I'm sure her kids had a great time and thought it was the coolest thing ever, but I can't imagine doing that. I don't think I would ever want to do that. I think if anything, I would just rather have one longer, more relaxing stay at one of the big water park resorts. I think that would more appeal to me, but I don't know. What do you guys think? Would you like staying at multiple Wisconsin Dells resorts, or would you rather just stay at one? Let me know in the comments. Okay, next question. How do I get the best deals, coupons, and discounts for visiting Wisconsin Dells? And this is a really good question. I did make a video in the past, which I will link right up here, about how to get deals at the water park resorts because they're quirky. Different water park resorts have different requirements, if you will, about getting deals. It's different at Wilderness than it is at Great Wolf. It's different at Great Wolf than it is at Kalahari. I recently made a video about the best and worst things about staying at Great Wolf, and one of them is that Great Wolf always has specials and deals. I think it's easier to get a good price at Great Wolf Lodge than it is to get a good price at Kalahari. Kalahari tends to be the most expensive of those 3. And I'm leaving out a couple. I mean, there's like Chula Vista, which I've never stayed at. And there's a couple other places that do have water parks, but that aren't as big as those resorts. But I think this viewer was asking more specifically about visiting Wisconsin Dells in general. Okay, there's a few ways that I would suggest to you. Okay, number 1 is the Wisconsin Dells Tourism Bureau. The Wisconsin Dells Tourism Bureau, I will link their website in the description below this video. It's wisdells.com, I think. I'll put it down below. And they have a website, and on their website, there is a section called Deals. I'm pretty sure it's Deals. And if you click on that, there will be a whole bunch of promotions on there from all sorts of places. Maybe I'll put in the link below. I'll put the link straight to that part. And they have a whole bunch of, current offerings from all sorts of hotels, restaurants, attractions in Wisconsin Dells that they're offering right now that you can look on there at any time. Okay, so that's one way. You could physically go to the Wisconsin Dells Tourism office in Wisconsin Dells. Now, it's moved around a few times. Last time we were there, we noticed it was no longer in the place it had been, which was in Lake Delton, very near the Kalahari. It's not there anymore. Now, when I went to their website before I made this video to check on that, it says that they're downtown again. So if you're not familiar with the layout of Wisconsin Dells, it is kind of a very confusing, spread out place. But I made actually 4 or 5 videos highlighting different sections of it where we actually went down and drove around and showed you where they were. And the introduction, my introduction to Wisconsin Dells video, which will be on the playlist that I'll put at the end of this one, also shows you on a map. I took a map and showed you where each of these sections were, so that can really help you because it's very spread out, and if you don't go down all the way down the one road or whatever, you're going to miss a lot of stuff. So check out those videos if you need more of an idea of how to get around Wisconsin Dells physically. Okay. So in downtown Wisconsin Dells is the Wisconsin Dells Tourism Office. And then another way is every year Wisconsin Dells puts out their visitor guide. It's like a magazine. It's pretty thick. I don't think I used to have one over here. I could have held up and showed you, but it's very colorful and it shows you all the stuff in Wisconsin Dells, and it has all sorts of ads from all sorts of places in Wisconsin Dells in there. And I think it has promotions and offers and coupons and things like that in it. You will find those all over the place. You will find those at rest areas, in the little stands with all of the flyers and stuff. Rest areas, hotels, any place in Wisconsin. You'll find them in Minnesota. You'll find them in Illinois. Those Wisconsin Dells tourism guides, those that they put out every year, they put out a new one every single year. You will see them everywhere. So if you look, go to a rest area anywhere in the Midwest, you're going to find one of those Wisconsin Dells tourism guides. I think you can also request to have one mailed to you. And that, again, would be through that Wisconsin Dells Tourism website. Then the other thing that I would suggest is to go onto the individual websites of the attractions or resorts that you are interested in. Because just like those water park resorts that I explained in that video I made about that, they're going to have their own way of offering discounts and promotions and deals to their customers. So you might have to sign up for something, or you might have to make an account, or they might just have stuff on their website, but they don't put it anywhere else out there. So be sure to check out if there's someplace you really know you want to go, you want to do an Upper Dells boat tour or whatever, make sure you check out the individual websites, or Pirates Cove Mini Golf even. I know they have stuff. Check out their specific websites, and there will very frequently be promotions or deals or something on their own websites that you can take advantage of. Okay, next question is, what resort will give you the most for your money? Okay, this is kind of linked with that whole discount thing. I'm going to say off the top of my head, Wilderness. And the reason I say Wilderness is because it is the biggest in size, and it definitely has the most activities. Kalahari has a lot of stuff to do at it too, and has, a very expansive indoor and outdoor water park. But I think Wilderness probably still has more, and you are more likely to be able to secure a better price at Wilderness than you are at Kalahari. The other thing I would say about Wilderness is Wilderness has a lot more lodging options. They have standard hotel rooms, they have suites, they have full condos with 1, 2, 3 bedrooms. They have condos at the lake. They have across Lake Dalton. They have condos connected by Skyway. They have a very expansive property with a lot of different options of things to do. Now, it can be a little bit tricky to get a good price at Wilderness, but you can do it. They do have decent promotions periodically. I would say that they're probably not as easy to get good deals at Wilderness as it is at Great Wolf Lodge, but you still can get them. And so I would say that as far as like bang for your buck, I would say that Wilderness is probably your best option. Now, I haven't stayed there in quite a while, so I'm not sure. Like, they have some new attractions. When we did our big Wilderness video, which if I haven't run out of these, I'll link it up here, but otherwise you can find it on my channel. It's a very popular video. When we did our tour in the summer of 2020, where we just walked around and everything, we weren't staying there. They've added a bunch of new stuff since the last time we stayed there, and I'm not sure how much of that is included and how much of it is extra charge. For the big water park resorts, the general rule is when you're staying there, when you're a guest there, your water park is always included in the rate, in your room rate, okay? But the other stuff, the theme park stuff, the ropes courses, it's like Flyover America, but that's not what it's called that they have at Wilderness. The Magi Quest at Great Wolf Lodge, those kind of things are all going to cost extra. And the advantage of that for people visiting Wisconsin Dells, and also for the resorts themselves, is that those things are not limited to guests of the resort. Anybody can come to those resorts and do those activities. Okay, and pay and do them. You could be staying at Holiday Inn and come over and do the stuff at the Kalahari or Wilderness or the Magi Quest at Great Wolf Lodge. But guests of the resort almost always will get a discounted price. And oftentimes at those big resorts, they'll have some kind of package available to you where you can get all that extra activity stuff bundled in with your room rate at a discounted price. And you'll get like a wristband or whatever that shows that you're a guest and you have this included in your package. Hopefully that helps you understand how that works a little bit, but I still would say that I think that wilderness is probably, you're going to get the most for your money. If you agree or disagree, let me know in the comments. Okay, and then the last question I got was, do you think it's worth the money staying there? That's a really interesting question. Okay, first of all, Wisconsin Dells is like many other tourist destinations. How much it costs to go there really varies. It depends. The main things, and this is true for any vacation, any tourist destination, there are some key things that affect the cost of it. Number one, how long are you staying? How long are you going for? There's a big difference between going somewhere, and this is like Disney or anything. There's a big difference between going for one night and going for 10 nights. The longer you stay, the more it's going to cost, okay? Secondly, what time of year are you going? Wisconsin Dells, just like any place else, has seasons. It's going to be most expensive in the summer. That's when most people go, is in the summer. You're also going to have other times where the price is going to bump up a little bit, like when the kids are off school. Think like Thanksgiving break and spring break and things like that, okay? But the price is going to change with the seasons. In the dead of January, nobody is going there, and you're going to get some great deals, okay? But that can be a really nice time to go, actually, and stay at one of those indoor water park resorts. It really can. It's like getting a little way away to the tropics, kind of, without actually flying somewhere. And then another thing that will affect the price of Wisconsin Dells or any place else is, where do you stay? You know, I can get a Hilton Honors rate at Hilton Garden Inn or Hampton Inn off season for less than $100 a night. You know, I could stay there and then go do other things in Wisconsin Dells and, look for discounts and stuff and make it very cheap for myself. Or I could get some big fancy condo suite at Kalahari and stay for 10 days and make it and go to the spa and make it extremely expensive for myself. So where you stay and what you choose to do while you're there is going to greatly affect your price. Wisconsin Dells has a very wide variety of activities for families of all types that range from free to extremely expensive and everything in between. So you'd have to, we did, last time we were there, the kids rode go-karts for literally $2. $2 a person. So it costs $4 for the kids to go ride the go-karts. Okay. The little train that I made a video about, I can't think of the name of it right now, but the little train that you can ride is really fun, and that's very inexpensive and reasonably priced. Mini golf usually doesn't cost a terrible lot, and I think I got a coupon. But there's other things that are going to be more expensive. If you start looking at like going to Mount Olympus for the day, or I'm not sure how much the duck boat tours cost or things like that, there's going to be stuff that's more expensive. So you can really vary how much you spend to go to Wisconsin Dells or other places like that, depending on how long you stay, where you stay, what time of year you go, and what activities you choose to do while you're there. And also, how do you eat? Do you eat at mostly fast food places or quick places that are inexpensive? Do you bring your own food and stay in a condo or camp or something like that, or get a cabin and make all your own food? Or do you go to all sit-down table service restaurants the whole time you're there? So all of those things can factor into how much a trip is going to cost. There are some instances where I would say that Wisconsin Dells is definitely worth the money. Okay, first I'd like to say that if you've never been to Wisconsin Dells before, I definitely think it's worth going. However, I want to say that with a caveat. Go and see the actual natural attractions of Wisconsin Dells. Go on an Upper Dells boat tour or a Lower Dells boat tour, or the Hidden Canyon tour where you go on the horse and wagon and you see the actual dells, the actual natural rock formations. That is the reason that this whole city tourist attraction is built up around there. If you miss that, you're missing the true essence of what Wisconsin Dells is and the amazing natural features and natural beauty. That is why it's there. So make sure you do one of those when you go and see that stuff, because if you don't see that, you're missing the point. Okay? Once you've done that, if you don't ever want to go see that again, fine. Your kids just want to go to the water park resorts, great. But make sure you don't miss out on seeing that natural beauty that is the reason Wisconsin Dells was built there in the first place. Okay, if your kids are a fan of water parks, they're definitely going to like Wisconsin Dells. But even if they're not, if they don't care about water parks, if they don't like getting wet, I don't know any kids that are like that, but there could be. Or if you aren't really into that, there's still so many other cool activities in Wisconsin Dells, fun stuff to do for families of all types. There's all sorts of things to do. If you like to do things together as a family, I do highly recommend Wisconsin Dells because there's lots of fun activities you can do together as a family. Another viewer asked me recently, it was in a comment on my best and worst of Great Wolf Lodge video, is Great Wolf Lodge worth going to without kids? And I told her yes. Wisconsin Dells, even as a whole, is worth going to without kids. There's plenty of adult stuff to do there too. And some of the rooms and stuff in some of those resorts are really cozy and romantic and gorgeous. And then there's like Sundara Spa, which is a really nice place and is all adult. Adults can enjoy Wisconsin Dells too. It's a great family destination, but it's not good only for families. I always have fun when we go. And I mean, when my dad used to go with us, he always had fun. And he was in like his 50s and 60s at the time or whatever, so it's a fun place to visit for everyone. But there's a lot of different types of fun. There's, natural outdoorsy stuff. There's the inside water parks. I've made so many videos about it. Check out all the videos at the end of this video and the playlist at the end of this video to see the wide variety of things that you can do in Wisconsin Dells, because there really is a lot of different stuff. And like I said, it is quite spread out. So be sure that you're not missing a whole section of the Wisconsin Dells attractions by only sticking to like one end of it, because you'll be missing a whole bunch of stuff. So thank you so much to everyone who submitted questions for this video. I hope that this was helpful to you. If you have any additional questions about Wisconsin Dells, I have been there many, many times, and I've experienced a whole bunch of stuff in Wisconsin Dells. And I would be happy to answer your questions if you leave them in the comments below. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. If you liked it, please be sure to give me a thumbs up down below. And be sure you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. Have a great day, everyone, and safe travels.